A key question that comes up often in our work with Holacracy is, what were the principles that inspired the design of Holacracy, or what principles was it designed around? And it's actually a really difficult question to answer, because the answer is simultaneously none and lots. The answer is none because Holacracy wasn't a system that we designed from theory. It wasn't something that we took a lot of principles and said, now let's construct a system that we think makes sense given all these different principles. That's not where this came from. Rather, it emerged. It emerged from simply asking the question, what gets in our way when we show up in an organization of producing and creating and expressing our own internal impulse to bring something to life in our work? What gets in the way of that? Well, meetings, they get in the way of that all the time. Bureaucracy, politics, rigid structures, lack of clarity, communication problems. There's so many things that get in the way of us expressing and integrating with others our desire to create. So what Holacracy was an effort to evolve a system to get those out of the way by saying, what's in the way, and let's try something, let's experiment. Let's bring in a new idea or a new technique and change something in the rules of the game for how we operate. And that's where the answer is, lots of things influenced it. Because as we had that question, as we'd run into, well, painful meetings are in the way. Well, what do we do about that? Well, you know, hey, Patrick Lencioni's got some great, interesting work on meetings. You know, there's some really cool work from Linda Berens in psychological type, looking at what each different people naturally resonate with and the value they bring to meetings. And okay, well, let's take some of those ideas and try them and see which ones work and get rid of the ones that don't. And okay, now what about organizational structure and how we interconnect different organizational structures? Because right now our structures get in the way. All right, well, let's go out and look at some of the other work. Barry Oshry has some interesting work in that domain. Peter Senge has some interesting work that touches on that. There's a method called Sociocracy that informs some of that. All right, now how do we make decisions and keep everything agile? Because that also gets in the way. Well, the Agile software development movement we were familiar with. They had some great techniques and dynamic organizational governance techniques that we could bring in and create something with. So all of these many different streams of influence and dozens more all showed up as we stayed grounded in what's in the way of us creating together. So the result was a system that, sure, you can see principles in it. We can look at it and see all these different principles at play. And of course, it had a deep, rich history of other movements that informed its development. Lots of different lineages, of ways of thinking, of techniques, of ideas. But it wasn't constructed around any one or even all of them. Right? It evolved. It came from simply a space of what's in the way, and let's experiment to find a better approach.